You know what caught my attention last week? I was standing in the baking aisle at Walmart, and I noticed something that stopped me cold. 3 items I buy every single month had jumped in price since my last trip. Not by a few cents, by over $1 each. And nobody around me seemed to notice. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The price increases you're seeing right now on grocery shelves are not the final round. They're the beginning of another wave. And if you understand what's happening behind the scenes with supply chains, crop failures, and import costs, you'll know exactly which pantry staples to grab right now before they climb even higher. I put together 10 items that I personally started stocking up on after doing my own research. And number 6 on this list genuinely shocked me. I could not believe how much the raw ingredient cost has gone up in the last year alone. You won't believe number 6 when we get there. If you're the kind of person who wants to stay ahead of these things instead of reacting when it's too late, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is built for people like us. People who pay attention. People who'd rather know now than panic later. Let's get into it. Item number 1. Olive oil. This one has been building for over 2 years now, and it's not slowing down. If you use olive oil for cooking, for salads, for anything in your kitchen, you need to hear this. Spain produces almost half of the world's olive oil. And for the last 3 growing seasons, severe drought across the Mediterranean has crushed their harvests. We're talking about production drops of 30 to 50% in some regions. That's not a small dip. That's a crisis in the supply chain. Industry data from the International Olive Council shows global stocks are at historically low levels heading into 2026. Wholesale prices have more than doubled compared to where they were in 2022. And retailers have been absorbing some of that cost, but they can't keep doing it forever. The next round of increases is already being negotiated with suppliers. I checked prices at 3 different stores near me last month. A bottle of extra virgin olive oil that I used to pay $6 for is now sitting at $11 to $13, depending on the brand. And the cheaper brands are starting to disappear from shelves entirely. I spoke to someone who works in grocery distribution, and they told me straight up, expect another 15 to 20% by mid-year. What I'd recommend is this. Buy 2 or 3 extra bottles now. Store them in a cool, dark place like a pantry closet or basement shelf. Olive oil keeps well for 18 to 24 months unopened. You're not hoarding. You're locking in today's price before tomorrow's markup hits. This is one of those items where waiting costs you real money every single week. Item number 2. Rice is the most consumed grain on the planet. And right now, the global rice market is tighter than it's been in over a decade. Let me explain why this matters to you, even if you only buy 1 bag a month. India is the world's largest rice exporter. In 2023, they placed export restrictions on several categories of rice. Those restrictions were partially relaxed, but the uncertainty rattled global markets. Other exporting countries like Thailand and Vietnam responded by tightening their own output. Weather disruptions from El Niño damaged crops in Southeast Asia. The ripple effect has been working through supply chains ever since. What I noticed at Costco last month was telling. The 25-pound bags of jasmine rice that used to sit in neat stacks near the entrance had been moved to a smaller display with a new price tag. Almost $4 more than what I paid 6 months ago. And the generic store brand rice at my local grocery store went from under $1 a pound to nearly $1.40. Here's what to do. Rice is one of the easiest staples to store long term. White rice stored properly in a sealed container in a cool, dry spot can last 20 to 30 years. That's not an exaggeration. Buy an extra 10 to 20 pound bag this week. Put it in an airtight container or a sealed bucket. You'll thank yourself in 6 months when that same bag costs noticeably more. You're not being extreme. You're being smart. There's a huge difference. Item number 3. Canned tomatoes. This one flies under the radar because people think of canned goods as cheap forever. But canned tomatoes are connected to the exact same climate problems driving olive oil prices up. Italy and Spain are major producers of processing tomatoes. The same droughts hitting olive groves are hitting tomato fields. California, which produces the majority of canned tomatoes for the American market, has had its own water issues for years. Between input costs for farming, transportation fuel, and the price of steel for cans themselves, every part of the supply chain is more expensive. Reports from food industry analysts show canned tomato prices at retail have risen roughly 20 to 30% over 2 years. And the forecast is not for relief. The can shortage that made headlines during the pandemic never fully resolved. Aluminum and tin plate costs remain elevated. I used to buy store-brand crushed tomatoes for around $1 a can. Now I'm seeing $1.40 to $1.60 at the same stores. Name brands like Hunt's or Muir Glen have crossed $2 in many markets. And here's what I noticed. The sales happen less often now. When they do go on sale, the sale price is what the regular price was a year ago. Stock up when you see a price you're comfortable with. Canned tomatoes last 2 to 5 years on a shelf easily. Buy a case. 10 to 12 cans. Use them in soups, sauces, chili, casseroles. This is a foundation item in any pantry, and it's only going up. Every can you buy now at today's price is money saved next month. Item number 4. Coffee. If you drink coffee every morning, you already feel this one in your wallet. But let me tell you what's happening behind the scenes that most people have no idea about. Brazil is the world's largest coffee producer. In recent years, they've been hit by frost, drought, and irregular rainfall patterns that have damaged Arabica crops significantly. Vietnam, the world's second largest producer and the main source of Robusta beans, faced its own severe drought in key growing regions. Global coffee futures have spiked to levels not seen in decades. The retail price of ground coffee at the grocery store has already gone up. But here's what's coming next. Many major brands locked in contracts at older prices. Those contracts are expiring. When they renegotiate at current market rates, the shelf price has nowhere to go but up. Some analysts project another 10 to 20% retail increase within the next 6 months. I went online and compared the price of a standard canister of Folgers on Amazon between last year and now. The difference was almost $3 for the same size. That's not inflation. That's a supply crisis being passed to you $1 at a time. Buy an extra canister or two. If you buy whole beans, even better. Whole beans stored in an airtight container in a cool, dark spot keep their quality for 6 to 9 months. Ground coffee stays good for 3 to 5 months past the best buy date if sealed. Lock in today's price. Your morning routine shouldn't cost more every single month. This is about protecting your daily budget from a change that's already in motion. Item number 5. Peanut butter. Peanut butter sits in almost every American pantry. It's protein, it's calories. It's affordable, or at least it used to be. Let me tell you what's shifting. Peanut crops in the American South have been under pressure from erratic weather patterns. Georgia and Alabama produce the bulk of American peanuts. Dry spells at critical growing times reduce yields, and the cost of processing, packaging, and transportation keeps rising independently. Diesel prices alone add a significant layer to anything that has to move by truck from farm to factory to store. I looked at the per-ounce price of Jif and Skippy at my local store last month and compared it to what I'd been paying the year before. The difference was subtle because they're smart about it. They didn't just raise the price. They reduced the jar size by 2 ounces and kept the price close to what it was. That's shrinkflation. You're getting less for the same money, and most people never notice. Here's what I do. I buy the larger jars at Costco or Sam's Club when they go on sale. Peanut butter lasts 9 to 12 months in the pantry unopened. It's calorie-dense, protein-rich, shelf-stable, and versatile. If you have kids, this is a non-negotiable stock-up item. Don't wait until the next round of shrinkflation makes that jar even smaller. Item number 6. Cocoa powder and baking chocolate. This is the one I told you about at the beginning. And when I looked into the numbers, I honestly could not believe what I was seeing. Cocoa prices on the global commodity market have exploded. We're talking about increases of over 200% in some contracts compared to 2 years ago. The reason is devastatingly simple. West Africa produces over 60% of the world's cocoa. Ghana and Ivory Coast, the two biggest producers, have been hit by disease, aging trees, extreme rainfall followed by extreme dry spells, and a structural underinvestment in replanting. The supply simply isn't there. This hasn't fully hit store shelves yet because major chocolate companies hedge their cocoa purchases years in advance. But those hedges are running out. The era of cheap chocolate is over. And cocoa powder, which is a baking staple for millions of households, is going to feel this the hardest because it's pure cocoa with no filler. I was at Target 2 weeks ago, and a standard 8-ounce container of Hershey's cocoa powder was priced at nearly $5. I distinctly remember buying the same container for under $3 not that long ago. When I checked online, some specialty baking cocoa brands had gone up even more, if you bake at all. If your family uses hot cocoa mix in winter. If you make brownies or chocolate cake from scratch. Buy cocoa powder now. It lasts 2 to 3 years in a sealed container. Baking chocolate bars last even longer. This is one of those items where 6 months from now, you're going to see the price and think back to this moment. Protect your pantry before the full impact of this shortage reaches every shelf in America. Item number 7. Canned tuna and canned salmon. Canned fish is a pantry staple that a lot of people rely on for quick protein, and the economics of it are shifting fast. Commercial fishing costs have gone up substantially. Fuel for fishing vessels, labor shortages on boats, stricter catch limits in key fisheries. Regulations designed to prevent overfishing are necessary, but they reduce supply. Meanwhile, demand for shelf-stable protein has only increased as people look for affordable alternatives to fresh meat. The price of a standard can of chunk-light tuna has nearly doubled in many stores over the past 3 years. What used to be $1 can is now pushing close to $2 at regular price. Canned salmon has gone up even more. And the premium brands like Wild Planet or Safe Catch are approaching $4 to $5 per can. I buy canned fish in bulk every few months because it's one of the best protein-to-cost ratios in a pantry. Last time I went to stock up, the case price at Costco was noticeably higher than my previous purchase. That told me everything I needed to know. Buy a case of 12 to 24 cans. Canned tuna and salmon have a shelf life of 3 to 5 years. Mix it into pasta, salads, sandwiches, rice bowls. It's versatile and it's only going to cost more as fishing regulations tighten and fuel costs remain elevated. This is the kind of smart move that saves you $30 to $50 over the next year without any extra effort. Item number 8. Oats and oatmeal. Oats are one of the cheapest and most nutritious breakfast staples you can buy. But even this humble grain is feeling the pressure. Canada is the world's largest oat exporter and a major supplier to the American market. Weather disruptions in the Canadian prairies over consecutive growing seasons have reduced yields. Transportation bottlenecks moving grain from Western Canada to American processors add cost. And like everything else, processing and packaging expenses keep climbing. A canister of Quaker oats that used to be well under $4 is now pushing past $5 in many stores. Store brand oats have gone up too. The price per serving is still low compared to other breakfast options, but the trend line is clear and pointing up. I started buying the larger bags of old-fashioned rolled oats from the bulk section. They're cheaper per ounce and they store beautifully. Rolled oats in a sealed container in a cool pantry last 18 to 24 months, easy. Steel-cut oats last even longer. Buy a couple extra large containers this month. Oats are breakfast, snacks, baking, smoothies, even savory bowls. The versatility makes this a smart stocking decision for any household. And at today's price, you're getting more value than you will 6 months from now. Every little edge matters when prices are moving in one direction. Item number 9. Honey. Honey is one of those items people don't think about until they reach for it and notice the price has jumped. But here's what's been happening quietly in the background. Bee populations continue to struggle. Colony collapse disorder, pesticide exposure, habitat loss, and extreme weather all contribute to reduced honey production domestically. The United States imports a significant portion of its honey, primarily from countries like Argentina, Brazil, India, and Vietnam. Import costs have risen with shipping rates and currency fluctuations. And there have been ongoing issues with adulterated honey entering the market, which has led to tighter testing and import controls that further limit supply. Real pure honey at the store has been creeping up steadily. A standard bottle of name-brand clover honey that sat at $5 to $6 is now $7 to $8 in many markets. Raw or local honey is even higher, often $10 to $15 for a jar. I personally switched to buying honey in larger containers from local beekeepers at farmers markets when possible. But I also keep 2 or 3 bottles of store-bought honey in my pantry as backup. Honey literally never expires. It's one of the only foods on Earth with an indefinite shelf life when stored properly. Archaeologists have found edible honey in ancient tombs. Buy a large container now. Use it for tea, baking, marinades, sauces, or just on toast. You're locking in value on something that will only cost more and might get harder to find in pure form. This one is a no-brainer for anyone who uses honey, even occasionally. Item number 10. Pasta. I saved this one for last because it's in almost every household in America. And it's a perfect example of how prices creep up in ways you feel but can't always pinpoint. Durum wheat, the grain used to make most dried pasta, has faced production challenges in key growing regions including Canada, parts of the northern United States, and the Mediterranean. Drought and heat stress during growing seasons have reduced durum wheat supplies globally. Add in the rising cost of energy for processing and packaging, higher transportation costs, and increased demand for shelf-stable carbohydrates, and you've got a recipe for steady price increases. A 1-pound box of spaghetti used to be well under $2 everywhere. Now you're seeing it at $1.70 to $2.20 for store brands, with name brands like Barilla pushing past $2.50 in many stores. That might not sound like a lot for one box, but if your family goes through 3 to 4 boxes a month, that adds up to $20 to $30 extra a year on pasta alone. I noticed the change most at Aldi, where pasta had been reliably under $1 a box for years. That's no longer the case. When I saw the price cross $1.50 there, I knew the shift was real and not temporary. Stock up. Dried pasta lasts 2 to 3 years in a sealed pantry easily. Buy 10 to 15 boxes on your next shopping trip. Mix shapes and sizes. It takes up minimal space. It pairs with your canned tomatoes, your olive oil, your canned tuna. This is a building block of affordable meals, and it deserves a dedicated spot in your stockpile. This is the kind of move that separates people who plan from people who pay more later. Now, let me tie this all together. What you just heard isn't about 10 random products. There's a pattern here. Climate disruption in the biggest producing regions of the world. Rising transportation and energy costs that affect every single thing that moves by truck, ship, or rail. Global supply chains that were already stressed from the pandemic and never fully recovered. Shrinkflation strategies that make you pay the same for less. And corporations that raise prices in quiet steps so you don't react until it's too late. The people who pay attention right now are the ones who'll be sitting comfortably 6 months from now while everyone else is staring at their grocery receipt, wondering what happened. This isn't about fear. This isn't about panic buying. This is about making smart, calm decisions with the information that's available today. You now know what's coming. You know which items to prioritize. You know how to store them. And you know that the window for locking in current prices is not going to stay open forever. Most people won't see this video. Most people won't take action, even if they do. But you're not most people. You're here because you want to be ahead of it. And now you are. If this information was useful to you, hit that subscribe button. I put out content like this every week. Real research, real trends. Real strategies you can use immediately. Drop a comment below and tell me which items surprised you the most. I read every single one. And if there's something you've noticed at your local store that others should know about, share it in the comments. We're all in this together. I'll see you in the next one. Stay smart, stay stocked, and stay ahead.